Hey out there in the interwebs, welcome to a series of tutorials for Turnitin.com and different tools and tips and tricks that you can use as a writer to have this tool be an effective piece for your learning. I'm Christopher Barickmo. I teach social studies at Blue Valley High School in Overland Park, Kansas, and I'm excited to take you through these little steps and these little tips and tricks in a series of 3 videos that look very particularly at the tools that are available in Turnitin.com. So let's dive in. Let's talk about what our goals are for this video session. In this tutorial, we're going to look at a couple of things. First, we're going to briefly go through creating an account and logging in. Talk about what it looks like to submit assignments once you've created that account and logged into a particular class. Some tips and tricks for you as the writer and how Turnitin can help you as a writer and develop that skill. And most importantly, how to troubleshoot some of the things that might happen in Turnitin.com. You want to make sure that no one walks away from this tutorial with the opportunity to say, well, I couldn't submit it, or it wouldn't accept my file. You have no excuses after this one. So let's dive in and let's learn. All right, friends, let's walk us through this. I'm going to do a real quick version of creating an account. Most of you that are using the system probably already have an account, but let's just start from the basics and go through creating an account. I've created just a temporary account for a temporary tutorial class, so we'll go through there. It is VHS Writer, and we'll just use this fake email address here. But that we are not already a student in the system, so we have to enter our class ID. Our class ID for this session is always going to be the same, but your class ID is provided for you by your teacher. So make sure that you have your class ID and your class enrollment password in order to create this account. We will create our student, first name, last name. Here's our email address. In this case, it is BVHS Writer. And it's important that you would use your school email address because your teachers can actually send communications through Turnitin.com in order to give you information about assignments not turned in, receive feedback, in order to create a dialogue with your teacher. In that way, note that you need at least one letter and one number. I don't have any numbers in there, so let's just do our password, and it has to be shorter than 13 characters. So I have created this. Let's say, what is my library card number? And we've created this. We agree to the terms and conditions. And now I am in the tutorial class. So you'll see once that I am logged in, I've created an account. I've actually used the the class ID and password that my instructors provided me. I am now in that class. It's a tutorial class, and the instructor is myself, Christopher Barickmo. So we're going to talk about some of these things and what we can do with this now in terms of submitting assignments. Now that we have that account set up and we are in the tutorial class, we are in this special place to submit our assignments, we are going to go through that. So you might have multiple classes here in Blue Valley High School or wherever you're learning from. But in this case, we're in tutorial class, and you can see that I have to submit a research paper, and that research paper is due on December 30th at 11:59 p.m. And that assignment was created by me, the teacher, Mr. Brickmo, earlier today. So I am done and I'm ready to submit that assignment. And there's some information that can go along with this that will tell you, in this case, late submissions are not allowed for this assignment, but resubmissions are allowed for this assignment. So I could potentially, now that I know this, I could actually resubmit this paper after I've submitted it the first time and gotten some of the feedback, which is another video in this series. So resubmissions are allowed for this assignment. That's a key bit of information that we need to look at. I've also noticed that the instructor has attached a rubric that can be used as a guideline to assess performance. If you click on that rubric, what will actually come up then is the entire rubric itself. And you can see if that instructor has given it to you on paper, that's great. If not, that rubric is here. And so it can tell you if the instructor put it on here this way, what percentage each of these bands is and what represents exceptional, skill, proficient, developing, or inadequate. In this case, you can see that this is our research paper for the American government classes in Blue Valley High School. And so you can have an idea of what it's going to take to get in that skilled or exceptional category that I know you all can and want to get into. So that's Xeris reference to us, and there's a lot of information there. But the first thing that we need to do once we've read all of that and got ourselves our final draft is we're going to go to submit. And you can see that we are submitting this as Susie Tiger, and I am submitting this as my research paper. And you have another bunch of options here. You can cut and paste your entire paper directly here. I would not suggest using that step because it loses formatting, it loses the information that your instructor is probably going to need in order to assess that paper fully. So what you would do in this case is upload that file. And we're going to submit again research paper and upload file. But we have to change it to cut and paste up here to single file upload. See, now we got what we're looking for. So if we look at research paper, you can see there's a number of different places you can draw it from. Google Drive, we already have access to that. You can choose from Dropbox, a great other tool to use for cloud-based saving. Or if you've got it on a flash drive or a network drive or something that is accessible from my computer, then I would click Use this computer. Well, you can see these wonderful holiday pictures of my kids, but I'm going to go to Dropbox, and I am going to go to my Emporia State graduate program because I, too, am a student at the same time, and I am going to look at, find my assignments, and I'm going to submit this research paper that I have put together. And if I select that file, you can see I'm submitting that research paper. And once I see that that's there, I might actually also look at what I can submit. They have to be less than 40 megabytes. Files have to have at least 20 words of text. Maximum paper length is 400 pages. Good Lord, I hope we're not submitting that. And there are file types that are allowed. Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, WordPerfect, PostScript, PDF, HTML, RTF, OpenOffice documents, Google Docs, and plain text are all allowed. So please make sure that you're using the right file format. That's part of the troubleshooting that we want to take a look at here in a moment. So we've got our file. We're going to upload that. And you can see that it's processing this. It's going to give you a little image here of what that paper looks like. So you want to confirm that that's the paper that you wanted to submit. Looks like it is. And it's got some of my little pieces as extra appendices there. It can tell you your page count, your word count, your character count. Make sure those, if your instructor needs those to be of a certain length, that's a place to look. You can confirm that submission. And it's always wise to keep a screenshot of this or a record of this submission just in case there's a problem. So we can return to the assignment list, and you can see that that has been submitted. It is processing in Similarity. I could download that paper if I needed it again, in case you lost the original file, or you can view the paper as it was submitted to make sure you submitted the right one, or when you go back for revisions, you can resubmit. But again, note you have to resubmit by the deadline because the instructor has given you that permission. You may have seen some of this as we were going through that little tutorial on submitting file types, but I wanted to also point out to you that there are the most common file types that you're going to want to submit are Word documents, .doc files, or .docx if you're using the most updated version of Word, PDFs, the .pdf, depending on how you save it. If you're saving it from a word processing software, it'll work. Some PDFs won't work in turnitin.com, especially because it may just be an image that's being submitted as a PDF. that's not going to work. So you're going to want to make sure that you have an editable document that you've created the PDF from in order for Turnitin.com to work. Dropbox and the cloud, like Google Drive, are always great places to save your information. It's accessible on any computer, but this way it also can allow you to grab those files from those cloud-based storage areas or Google Drive, an online cloud-based set of software, for you to be able to pull those right into Turnitin.com. As I said, you want to keep a record of your digital receipt, that transmission that gets you a little bit of a ticket for the instructor if there was a problem. If you can show that digital receipt or a screenshot of that, then you're in a better position if something happened. This is also a great place to use Turnitin.com as a repository of your files. We as teachers do not want to hear sob stories of computer crashes and things getting lost, because you have opportunities to use the cloud, and you also have the opportunity to use Turnitin.com as a cloud repository for your files. So you can always get those files that you submit to Turnitin.com through that download function that I showed you before. And really, most importantly, is using the rubric feature, because if a teacher has attached a rubric, and not all teachers do, but it's a powerful tool when they do attach it. And if they use the rubric that's been developed within Turnitin.com or the one that they've created, it gives you an opportunity to see how you are going to be assessed. If you've lost that paper, at least it's on Turnitin.com for you to look at that, and you can figure out exactly what is expected of you as a writer to be able to assess yourself off of that. And that's going to be an important part of what we talked about in the feedback video in the next one in the series. So just a few tips and tricks as we look at the many, many features in the first parts of Turnitin.com. One of the most common things that happens with Turnitin.com and struggles for students that I want to help you troubleshoot is how you submit your paper. Normally, when you submit your paper, for most all of you, you're going to be using the single file upload. You've already created the file. You've already created this file in Word. It's already saved as your final research paper. You've got all your formatting ready to go. And let's say it just doesn't submit. Maybe you're using Pages. Pages is a format that doesn't really work with Turnitin.com. If you look, what can I submit? I mean, you can submit all of these, but Pages is not one of them. So you have to turn that into something else. And let's say whatever file type you get is not accepted by Turnitin.com. That's not an excuse to not then turn your assignment in. Too often we hear students say, I had trouble turning into Turnitin.com and I missed the deadline because it wouldn't accept the file that I had. Well, that's not actually going to be enough of an excuse now, because that's going to be something we can overcome. When you go to submit and you change it to cut and paste upload, let's say we've got a problem and now we can't submit the file type. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take this and I'm going to take my whole paper all the way to my references page, and I'm going to copy that, and I am literally going to paste that whole thing directly into that box. Now again, it doesn't have the formatting that it needs, doesn't look perfect, but that's certainly better than no submission at all. We can work with that as teachers. So that's the most common issue we run into, and I want to make sure that you understand that you can submit that paper, and we can take a look at that from there. Now, I'm not going to submit that because we're going to start moving on to the next video, where you can see now that I've submitted that research paper, and I can see that similarity index of 5%. And we need to look at what that means. We need to look at some of the other pieces that we have in our toolbox. So that's going to be for our next video. Coming up here in a minute, hopefully you'll stay tuned for that and learn a little bit about those tools that we can add into our writing. I really hope this gave you some good tips and tricks and some information to start out in your use of Turnitin.com. And if your teacher required you to come watch this video, I hope you learned something. I hope you took something away and that you're ready to submit things the appropriate way and not pile up those excuses that teacher might be hearing for the 4 millionth time, because we've heard them all. So I really hope that this has not become you on Turnitin.com's deadline for when your teacher sets that deadline. But please tune in for the next video in the series where we talk about the grammar and originality reports and how they can actually improve your writing. Until then, see you out there on the interwebs.